The little Electrolux Lite Deluxe 1000 is done, finished, and you know what? For such a budget little machine, it's really quite good. Let's have a look at how it turned out. Yes, hello my vacuum cleaner chums. How are you today? This machine would have sat in the middle of the late 80s, early 90s Electrolux cylinder range, mainly due to the fact that it has cord rewind, which was certainly still an optional extra back when this machine was made. But that is it. What it should have under this Deluxe 1000 badge is, if you look underneath it, there's the cutout, sort of blanking mould for an automatic power adjuster slash speed control slider, depending on what they would have had. So certainly these machines, the chassis was used for various different things. How has it cleaned up? Well, remarkably well. This floor tool is now absolutely spotless. They can barely see anywhere on it at all. The brushes come out and go back in. Very nicely indeed. The wands are still plastic, still fairly flimsy, but very clean and tidy. The hose, I managed to get that off. The key to this style, because see there's clips under there and there, is to squeeze it in the opposite side and hopefully you'll just push. There you go, you can see them on the edge. You'll push those out just enough to clear that. Electrolux used this hose on everything. So this will apply to this, dolphins, you name it. And then I took this rubber seal off and the whole thing went in the washing machine. Came out very nicely indeed. The machine itself, well, if you remember from the before video, the top is ever so slightly faded, and I thought, oh, well, never mind, you know, it's a bit odd that it's only the top. It's because the bottom is actually a different sort of plastic. I went to machine polish it, and you can't see now because I managed to get rid of it, but this plastic is very soft, and as soon as the polisher spun up, it basically started to almost melt the plastic. I stopped it and managed to wipe it off very quickly, so you can't tell. So this top bit is just normal plastic, I don't know what type. This bottom bit is softer and it's a completely different type. So obviously there you can see that the bottom hasn't faded but the top has, and these pedals. So it's a fairly simple fix should the owner wish to do it. The graphics, well, I didn't actually machine polish too much of the top. I did the sort of main and the sides and then blended it in with just some hand polishing. So it's nice and shiny. It's got a few coats of wax on it. It's mainly due to these decals. As you can see, the pedals were worn anyway, and giving the power switch just a little bit of a rubbisome sift did take off more. So I then didn't really touch it because part of the reason that the owner wanted this specific machine is the decals, and obviously I'm not going to ruin that. I also didn't, I'll say couldn't, I didn't take the wheels off because the clip is very weird. It's like a double-edged tang, and obviously I've broken, you've got to be very careful on cylinders because if you pull it, you can only pull it at an angle. If you can't release the clips, it is very likely to snap. And I didn't want that because it would have needed an entire scrap machine in order to get a bottom, and it's just not worth it. So I left the back wheels on. The tools, well, it's weird because I don't actually think this tool has seen any, if only a little bit, from that little dink in the corner. I think that's a moulding mark. I don't even think that's damage, but the whole thing is absolutely spotless. If that had seen actual use, you would notice. dusting brush has seen some use. I pulled so much fluff out, and there's still, you know, little bits in there, but that's nice and clean now. It's a really nice dusting brush, but it's just so small. And as is normal, the crevice tool had seen the most use, although again, it's not too bad. Certainly it cleaned up very nicely. There's only, you know, a few little scratches. So this machine hasn't really had, I don't think, that much abuse. Even the floor tool, I mean, the edges were covered in paint. You know, there's a few little marks, but it's certainly not been religiously smashed against the side of a unit or walls or whatever. So let us have a look inside. And the big question is, will it HEPA flow? And the answer is yes. Yes, it does. Inside of there, washed up, an absolute treat. The whole thing did, really. These white, especially Electroluxes, the motors, because this is basically a twin turbo motor. Electrolux used the same motor. They do like to get their carbon brushes dirty, which then filthifies the whole machine. The white Electrolux glider that is on my channel had exactly the same thing, and other ones do, but white shows it up more. So once you wash it all off, it's very clean. It does HEPA flow, and it actually HEPA flows fairly well. I could have done it perhaps slightly better, although this is good enough. As you can see, it's not quite centralised. I only cut one half of here. I then sort of fiddled it up a little bit, but you know, if you slice both sides evenly, so it sits in there level, if that makes sense. Time you put the top on, but it should be okay. It seals up. You can't really see that. Are you going to focus camera? Who knows? That bit there sticks to the seal in exactly the same way that the original bag does. So, you know, centre it up a bit and spend a bit more time. And yes, you can HEPA flow an Electrolux Lite. So we'll take that out. This is actually the original post motor filter because it's so stained. I don't think I have in the shed any filters for these. I think I may have a packet of pattern bags, but this is better than that in every way. But apart from being stained, these washed up really well. They are only stained. There's no point really to do much with it. I certainly think it's absolutely fine. But pop that back in there. The post motor filter actually sits under this little cage, which was there in the before video. The filter was just sat on top. So this is what was the pre-motor filter. So it's stained, but in the absence, we cut new ones. But I think it's fine. That sits on there. It's a bit loose, but seems to work okay. And I took the plug apart, polished up the pins as always, buffed up the plastic. Even the plug's faded on one side. And this whole machine is just back to pretty much, it's in fantastic condition. It's certainly as good as it's ever going to be. I know the owner said don't worry about fully refurbishing it, but again, on machines as simple as this, it's as easy. Plus the owner's given me some fantastic loot. So basically, I'm going to call this payment for some stuff which you will see on my channel at some point. As it gave you a little spoiler, it works really well. And you can almost pick the whole machine up with your hands. I have had the motor apart. On the Electrolux motors, you can't take the fan case end apart because there's no nut on the fan. It is a big rivet. But you can take the top half of the motor off, take the coil off. You can then replace or clean up the top bearing. I just put a little bit more grease in it. This is the original bearings. And then you can squirt or drop oil into the fan case bearing, which will soak in. And that's about as good as you can do on any Electrolux motor from the twin turbo 500 series onwards. But there's no leaks in the hose. The bag fill indicator. I can hear it snapping away and it's really quite good. Let's get a vacuum on, although I'm going to have to caveat it by saying that these plastic ones are horrible, so I'm not going to be going to town because I don't want to snap anything. I've seen these hose ends snap literally there on that moulding line that just drops it down in diameter to fit into the tube, so I have to be careful. That's not nice to use. It does the job, but it will take all day to do this sort of stuff. What I do like about this machine though is that it does follow you around. If I just get a bit more cable out, so when I pull my light off at the table, you know, it follows you around really very nicely. It's like the Goblin Rio that I used for 12 vacuums in 12 months. It's just the right size for a smallish house like mine. And you can see why they were so popular back in the day. But this one is now done. Let's just wind the cable up, minding the dodgy cable on my Lite, which I must rewire. Cord rewind, nothing wrong with that at all. Electrolux ones are renowned for being the best, and it's another one done. I think the last for Mr. James. Sadly, I've enjoyed working on his machines. And yeah, rounded off with a nice little Electrolux. I do like these. I would never let one go if it was local and very cheap. I would definitely save it. These hold a slight soft spot because, again, I own, or my mother had, an iteration of one of these when I was a child, though with completely different tools and a different coloured body, but the same shape. Again, this shape went on. I think there was some older than this, and this shape certainly was around until the mid-2000s, one way or another. But that's it for this video and for this Electrolux. Thank you very much for watching. If you've ever owned one of these, do comment. Tell me what you thought of it. Basic, no frills, but fairly dependable cylinder vacuum cleaner. What's your preference, cylinder or upright? And why is it your preference? Is it just because you have all carpet or all hard floor? Or is there something else? Tell me. We'll get a conversation going. But for now, but not this Electrolux, will see you soon. Bye bye.